she's on the phone while you're winning souls already and being told, where is security? Why do you have Miss Deborah out there by herself? Do you know where you are? And she, but yeah, we went out.
Yes.
And they asked us if we were there to open a meth lab.
They sure did.
And then tell them what you said.
Yes, when we pulled up, and I had Miss Ashton with me, and I'm well aware that you are Pastor Rod Parsley's daughter, and I feel responsible for your protection. Yeah. And I didn't know the protocols, so we took out. I didn't know we were supposed to have security with us.
I don't think we knew we should have security. I mean, we're just like...
We were just out there.
Bopping
it's
along.
like, what? Security? We had the angels of God.
Yeah, trial by fire.
And so when we pulled up, the people that were druggies came up and they said, are y'all here to open up a meth lab? And I said, yes, we are. And it's going to be the best meth you've ever had. And his name is Jesus Christ.
Yep.
And they both got born again on the spot.
Yeah.
And then they were coming up to Miss Ashton and I said, y'all are the most beautiful women we have ever seen. And
Flattered,
later
I'm
I laughed about it and I said, yeah, we're not on crack or anything. We look a little different.
Yeah. And before all the students got there, in typical Deborah fashion, you were going around and praying for folks. And there were these two, young ladies in the neighborhood. And they said, well, what are you doing here? And you said, well, what are your names? And they said, Sarah and Sally. And you said, well, Sarah and Sally, I just want to pray with you. I just want to pray a blessing over you. And one of them said, oh, well, we better give her our real names then.
That's exactly right. She said, my name's not Sarah. My name is Brenda. And I said, why didn't you tell me your real name? She said, I think y'all might be the FBI coming up in here. But I wanted to tell you my real name because I did not want God to get confused and bless the wrong person.
She didn't want God to get confused.
So we had a time that day.
Yes.
Everything you're about to hear is just my assessment. It's my opinion, and not to be taken as fact.
In this expose, we are going full force. We are ripping off the veneer and exposing the rot. We are talking about the September 26th, 2025 episode of the Mega Maniacs podcast, hosted by Robin Torgrimson. And we are going to hold Rod Parsley, Ashton Parsley, and Deborah George to brutal account. Robin did not make a mistake. She made a stand, and the people she challenged owe the world more than weak excuses. We will go point by point with moral clarity, forensic critique, and zero soft landings. Number 1, the centerpiece clip. What was said. Let's begin with what they themselves recorded and broadcast. This is not rumor. This is not hearsay. It is on tape. It is in writing. A clip was played from the recent episode of Rod Parsley's Dumpster Fire podcast, in which Deborah George recounts a street outreach in which someone asked, "Are y'all here to open up a meth lab?" And the response she claims was given, and that was then played back for the world to see, was, "Yes, we are. And it's going to be the best meth you've ever had. His name is Jesus." Pause. Let that sink in. That phrase was treated as a clever evangelistic line. They laughed like it was an episode of Comic View. Rod laughed. Ashton laughed. Deborah George smiled, broadcast it publicly, marketed it. They turned human misery into a punchline. Make no mistake, that is not a slip. That is a branding decision. That is a moral priority choice. That is the theater of cruelty masquerading as ministry. Number 2, why this is not tactless or edgy. We must be unambiguous. Addiction is not a joke. Methamphetamine is among the most destructive, life-ruining substances known in modern society. It robs memory, fuels psychosis, burns bodies, rips apart families, turns neighborhoods into war zones. Lives are destroyed. People die. This is not metaphor. This is flesh, blood, despair. When someone who claims to represent Jesus laughs about it, behaves as though the phrase "best meth ever" is a witty marketing hook. They twist the suffering into spectacle. They turn people who are addicted into props. They reduce tragedy to brand material. There is no nuance in that. That is cruelty. That is spiritual violence. Number 3, trophy conversions. Souls as scorecards. What makes this worse is the logic behind it. The clip, and the way it's being used, exposes a hideous mindset. Conversions as trophies, not human encounters. They are not asking, how do we walk with this person? They are asking, how many can we log? How many can we boast about later? What clip goes viral? If your outreach ends when someone raises their hand or shouts, I'm saved, without aftercare, treatment, housing, conversation, relational investment, you have not done ministry. You have done marketing. You've done exploitation. They are using people's extremity for their own PR. That is not evangelism. That is taking advantage. Number 4, hypocrisy. The pain they mock versus the pain they protect. The video and the promotional history show a glaring double standard. When addiction or scandal appears within their own circle, it is hidden, silenced, smoothed over. But when addiction appears in the street, among the homeless, the vulnerable, it becomes fodder for jokes. That is hypocrisy in full relief. It's the arrogance of my people safe, your people spectacle. It is a sanctimony that reserves mockery for those who lack the power to speak back. If you mock addicts publicly but guard your own when they stumble, you are not a shepherd. You are a showman with a broken mirror. Number 5, Ashton Parsley. The air laughs at pain. Let's talk about Ashton Parsley, daughter of Rod. She was present. She laughed. She normalized the moment. That matters. When the pastor's child laughs at the suffering of others, that is a powerful signal. It says this is standard. This is okay. It embeds cruelty into the legacy. Ashton bears responsibility for participating in that logic, for reinforcing that cruelty, for not standing up and calling it what it was, wrong, abusive, and dehumanizing. Her complicity is real, and it cannot be ignored. Number 6, Deborah George, the mouthpiece of the cruelty. But the central offender here is Deborah George. She is not some casual bystander. She is the one who conceived and delivered the line. She is the one who recorded it. She is the one who turned suffering into spectacle. Her public posts and videos show she is proud of it. She promotes it. She repeats it. When you claim to do street evangelism, you have a sacred responsibility to be humble, to affirm dignity, to walk with people in their suffering. When you instead deliver a snarky tagline, best meth ever, and treat addiction as performance, you've abdicated moral responsibility. Deborah must be held to account for that. Her words, her platform, her decision to record and promote that moment, they are not minor missteps. They are deep wounds. Number 7, theological and ethical absolutes. If you claim to bear the name of Christ, there are lines you do not cross. Jesus never made suffering into a punchline. He never treated disease, mental anguish, or addiction as field games. He did not mock lepers. He did not elevate spectacle over service. He did not turn the suffering of people into a brand marketing tactic. So when a leader laughs at addiction, when they turn it into a viral clip, they betray him. That is not allegiance to Jesus. That is betrayal by hypocrisy. Number 8, concrete failures we can point to. We must ground moral condemnation in concrete failures. Let me list what we can document. No follow-up care, no documented system of housing support, recovery counseling, sobriety check-ins, casework. The conversion ends the moment the clip ends. Promotional usage. That same clip is used in podcast promos, magazine posts, social media ads, turned into a marketing device. Boasting, not transparency. They trumpet the souls saved metric. They don't publish outcomes. How many stayed sober? How many relapsed? How many died? How many got care? Pattern of dehumanization. This is not an isolated blunder. It reflects a pattern of degrading the vulnerable for spectacle. Unequal enforcement of standards. They hold themselves above scrutiny. They are not willing to allow independent audits or oversight. These are not theoretical complaints. They are visible in the record. They are the very faults Robin Torgrimson, through her podcast, sought to bring into the light. Number 9, why Robin's intervention matters. Make no mistake, exposing abuse in religious institutions is not attacking faith. It is defending faith. Robin Torgrimson's Mega Maniacs is performing necessary public work, shining a spotlight on hypocrisy, demanding moral integrity, refusing to let those with power hide behind pulpit authority. To stay silent is to be complicit. When Robin called out this clip, she did exactly the thing institutions need. She forced accountability and let it be plain. The people who mocked addiction do not get to choose whether or not they will be seen. Number 10. What Rod, Ashton, and Deborah must do. No more half measures. There is a difference between lip service and real repair. These spiritual thugs owe not just words, but action. Here's what they must do to begin to regain, if possible, moral standing. 1. Full, unqualified public apology. No, if you were offended. No misunderstandings. They must admit, we mocked people in pain. We were wrong. We sinned. Name the phrase, name the people. Be specific. 2. Allocate tangible reparative resources. Build or fund an independent third-party addiction recovery outreach team, not controlled by the same leaders who use the clip. Provide housing, treatment beds, long-term counseling, vocational training for real people, not cases. Use their wealth and platform for repair, not more spectacle. 3. Submit to independent oversight. Invite scholars, ethicists, addiction experts, and community voices to audit their outreach practices. Publish the findings. Accept sanctified consequences for failures. 4. Transform volunteer training and outreach protocols. Every volunteer must be trained in trauma-informed care, destigmatizing language, harm reduction mindset, mockery, quips, lines about best meth must be banned outright. Language committees, sensitivity audits, build them in. 5. Create forums led by people in recovery. Let those who've lived addiction lead the conversation. Host public forums, listening sessions, restorative dialogues. Publish what you learn. Show your wounds. 6. Report real outcomes. Conversion counts are meaningless. Real metrics. 30 days sober, 6-month recovery, relapse, housing stability, mental health indices. Be transparent. If stories are ugly, don't hide them. Learn from them. If any of these steps are skipped, their apology is just more theater. No one needs another religious PR stunt. What people need is real love, real care, and real moral repair. Number 11, a direct message. No fluff. Rod Parsley, Ashton Parsley, Deborah George, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. You took people's suffering and weaponized it for your podcast and laughed. You stigmatized the unfortunate and made addiction into a soundbite. You turned pain into promo. That is not ministry. That is abuse in a different robe. If you claim Christ, you cannot cower behind silence now. You must step forward, bear the weight of your words, and show the world, not with more sermons, but with more sacrifice, that you regret this and will do better. And if you refuse, then you betray not only the public trust, but the very name you say you carry. But who are we kidding, right? In what world does the big bad wolf Rod Parsley and his wolf pack apologize and repent about anything? What do they really care about the vulnerable? As long as it doesn't mess with their money, they could care less. Repentance is Rod's worst enemy. Accountability, integrity, and Rod Parsley does not go well in the same sentence. Conclusion. Rallying support for Robin. To Robin Torgrimson, you did exactly what needed to be done. You refused silence, you refused spiritual cover for cruelty, and you insisted on accountability. That is not attacking the church. That is defending the gospel from abuse. If the institutions of power will not police themselves, then the role of public accountability becomes sacred. This is the difference between religion and justice. This is the difference between spectacle and service. To the viewers, do not let this be forgotten. Demand more. Insist on repair. Support those who expose tyranny, not those who protect it. Share the story. Ask the hard questions. Hold the powerful to the light. This was not a slip. This was a decision, and we must refuse to let them treat addiction, suffering, vulnerability, and people as collateral or punchlines.